It is very cold and frosty out there. It's supposed to, I think, get into the low 40s, maybe later today, but that's what it is out there now. I want to share with you something that you can possibly see right here. Something that I mentioned this before, but this is worth bearing and repeating because I see this happen all the time on sites like apartment therapy, the kitchen, and other sites where people say you must clean up your kitchen absolutely perfectly every single time. Well, I'm here to tell you, life does not always work that way. And I say this because things happen, stuff happens, life gets in the way, and you're the only one who's probably the only one dealing with the kitchen. You may be sick, you may have been busy, etc. And what you have here is a kitchen where you've managed to be able to just load the dishwasher, and that's as far as it gets. And then you run it when it needs to be run, and you just keep repeating this until you finally take a time to clean the rest of it. And that's what's happened to me over the past week. But this is also a twofer, because I'm also going to talk about shutting down your kitchen. The reason for this is some people are acting like it's a thing when it's been happening for a long time. It's not necessarily a formal thing, but it's a thing. It does happen, and the reason for it has to do with setting boundaries, in my view. Especially if you live in the house with a family and or you share a place with other housemates. You need to set boundaries. And this also is stemming from the fact that most restaurant kitchens, unless they run 24/7, have a formal shutdown of the kitchen. If your restaurant is scheduled to close at 11 p.m., the kitchen will shut down probably 45 minutes to an hour before that point. So if it's 11 o'clock, that means no later than 10:15, the kitchen will shut down, which means the cooks and everything need to do what they need to do to get out the door by 11 o'clock, because that's the end of their shift. So if you're a straggler and you straggle into a kitchen that shuts a restaurant that closes at 11 and it's 11:15, you're not going to get served because the kitchen is likely shut down already. And it applies in the home too. And it does because it sets boundaries for things like expectations for people who feel they need to snack at midnight because they have a craving. The boundaries stem from, okay, you've got this craving, you need to deal with it, but what do you do? Do you leave everything out? No, you don't. You put it away. Or at the very minimum, you put the food away, you put stuff in the sink, maybe rinse it out a little bit, and then set it in the sink so that it can be quickly put in the dishwasher the next morning. It's also about your spouse, the primary cook, and the fact that after a certain point, they can say, you're on your own. And I'm not going to deal with cooking your late night snack. You're on your own for that. However, if you do, you must pick up the kitchen enough so that it can be taken care of first thing in the morning. You're setting boundaries, a hard boundary, and you're setting expectations for everybody else in the family to hopefully abide by it so that you are not the onus person with all the responsibility and having to pick up after everybody. Hopefully. That's what shutting down the kitchen is. Now, when it comes to the day-to-day stuff, if you've got a busy schedule and you're the only one who's dealing with the kitchen, say you live by yourself like I do, and you find yourself not able to fully clean the kitchen up every night, don't worry too much about it. Give yourself permission to say, this stuff I'm just going to leave in the sink. Everything else can go in the dishwasher. I'll run it when it needs it and let it go at that, and just keep rinse, lather, repeating, so to speak, until you finally get a moment, clean everything up, which is what I plan to do today. But as you can see, the sink is overflowing. Some of it is stuff that needs to be hand washed, which is part of the problem. But I have been running the dishwasher. If you notice, it's cracked open right now. That's because I don't run the dry heat, the dry cycle. It air dries. So in the morning, I crack the dishwasher and let the air in, and then it'll help dry things. It won't be perfect, but it'll at least be drier than it would be had I left it shut. So I'll empty the dishwasher, load it up with as much stuff as possible, and then start cleaning up everything else that's in it, and then I'll clean up all the hand washables. Now, these were washed, but I just hadn't put them away yet. I have 2 in the freezer because I took care of the last of the shrimp stock that I made. These were just simply need to be rinsed out because I use them for when I take down my ornaments. I put them in these guys to kind of keep them corralled and safe until I can get them packed away. Well, they're all packed away and put back in the shed, so it's just a matter of this just needs a quick rinse, and then I let them dry. This is just sitting here because I put it away yesterday, packed it up yesterday, and just hadn't gotten that all finished up. So I'll deal with that. I'll deal with the few things that are here, and then I'll take care of all this later today because I got to go run a couple of errands this morning. But I just wanted to share that, first off, give yourself permission to say, I'll get these things taken care of and the rest I can do in the morning or whenever. Now, I've been intending to wash the hand washables, but it just hadn't happened because I've had other things come up and it just never got there. So I'll deal with that today. I'll make an effort to deal with it. As far as shutting down the kitchen, it's not anything new. It's been going on for a long time. But some people are finding that they have to set a formal shutdown routine to establish expectations, because there are people who have no idea that shutting down the kitchen is a thing. Now, for restaurants, when I worked at the old spaghetti factory, we had a situation where, a routine where once a customer is served, you wait until they're done, and then you gather everything up into the bus tops, and you bring it back and you set in the opening portion of the dish room. Meanwhile, everybody else in the kitchen will have put food away, wiped down, and then gone home. The dish room will have run all the last of the dishes, except for the very last stuff that comes in. That stuff is left in tubs and left for morning. Then the dishwasher is then drained, rinsed out, everything's shut down. Anything clean will just be left in the racks on the clean end of the dishwashing machine. And then in the morning, garbage is taken out, mats taken out, rinsed out, put back down, the floor swept. Garbage can gets new liners and put in place, and then the person who is in charge of the dish room in the morning empties everything from the tubs, stacks all the dishes up, and then starts the day setting up the dish room, the dish machine, and then starts running the last night's stuff through the machine. Meanwhile, all the clean stuff will have been stacked and put away. That's called shutting down the kitchen. And restaurants do this because they have to. You have to set a certain point to where, after a certain point, no food is cooked, no food is served. So the maitre d' or whoever is running the front of the house needs to know that, so that they can tell the customer, I'm sorry, but we can't cook. We don't have any cooks here. The kitchen is shut down for the night. Now, Denny's, IHOP, or anything else where they work 24/7, 365 days a year, that's not going to be an issue. But most restaurants, they shut down and they close between 11 and midnight. So kitchens need to be physically shut down before that point. So, yeah, that's where that came from, as far as I know. So shutting down your kitchen at home, it's about establishing boundaries, I believe. It's about establishing expectations for everyone else in the house to hopefully abide by. So a little later, I'll show you picking up this kitchen a little bit. But for now, the main thing to keep in mind is shutting down is not anything new. It's just been formalized in such a way to let people understand that there are expectations, and that the person who's in charge of the kitchen isn't being run roughshod by everybody else by expecting them to get up at midnight and fix them dinner. I'm sorry, but that's just not how it works in life. If you come home at midnight and you're hungry, you're on your own, kind of a thing. That's what shutting down means, and that's establishing boundaries and expectations. The flip side of that is when you can't get the kitchen quite all the way picked up for whatever reason. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just clean it up as best you can, run the dishwasher if you need to, and call it a night. Take care of it the next day or as soon as you can. Now, some of this has been going on for about a week, off and on in various ways. So I'm going to deal with that today, and that's going to mean hand washing some stuff mostly once the dishwasher is emptied and everything gets put in it. So just keep that in mind. Don't beat yourself up and go forward. Okay, enough lecturing. This was just washed. All right, kitchen is, dishwasher is emptied. Before I go any further, if you have anything that looks like this in the way of food products, like cream of wheat, for instance, and you're getting low, pour some into here, and then use a measuring spoon to scoop out what you need for your pot. Then to put it back, use something like this, and you just squeeze and you can pour it back into the opening of the box. That's the best way to utilize something like cream of wheat, home-style grits, or anything of that nature. And this also work with cornmeal, like Albert's cornmeal is in a similar kind of box. Anything of that nature. You just measure it, pour it out, measure it, and it'll make it a lot easier when you have to handle stuff like that when it's getting empty. Anyhow, I realized that I could do that this morning, and that's what I did when I was making cream of wheat for breakfast. And now, dealing with emptying the the sink and putting those things into the dishwasher, because what's on the top is mostly stuff that can go in the dishwasher. Good. Now what's the remaining of the stuff that's in the dishwasher and the sink is all stuff that needs to be washed by hand. Other than that, it's all ready to go. And I got the pot on the stove to put in. However, if you must deal with making sure everything's put in, just make that a really high priority and just take the time to do it. But the method that I'm showing you is really about when you're just simply don't have the time or the energy because you're because of life. You're sick, you're not feeling well, or you're just busy. And this pot's going to be a little bit of a problem because I didn't get everything. Okay. Now, that didn't take long at all. Just takes a few minutes. All right, let's get these a quick rinse just to make sure there isn't any like I said earlier, these were used to temporarily hold the ornaments while I took them off the tree, and so bits of stuff sometimes gets on them, falls off and into the sheet pan. So all I'm doing is just giving them a quick rinse out to make sure that none of that's still stuck. I don't want necessarily be eating anything that gets into the food. See this? That is a clean garlic press. Notice inside? Yep, clean garlic press. So it's not that difficult. Contrary to what many people claim. Now, I know the Xylus ones aren't too bad. And this little guy helps a great deal. It comes with the garlic press. Mine had one originally, but it went AWOL on me one time, and when I bought a replacement, that one's actually designed to fit inside the garlic press itself. I don't usually keep mine in there because I keep it right over here. And it was perfect. All right, now to get this last item, my cheese box. This is technically a small refrigerator, casserole kind of a deal that can also be used as a refrigerator. It's part of a refrigerator set from Pyrex, but I use it as a cheese box. Because it's the perfect size, and I can use it to put fresh cheeses in, and things like mozzarella. That's basically it, and that's really all you need to do. And I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but I'll kind of segments of it. Quick and easy, quick and quick and dirty, easy peasy, quick and done, or as I say, done and done. Everything's the hand washables. The 2-cup Pyrex I just used it for water this morning, so it was already just dry. So it's just easier to move it, put everything in it, in the basket, and then go from there. Anyhow, that's what you do when you have, take a few moments in your day. When you're like running around doing a million things all at once. So if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button, and if you want to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified. It'll do this channel a world of good, and I'll see you on the next one.